Welcome to Intuitive Connections, where spirituality and psychology meet to help you be your best and brightest self. I'm your host, Victoria Shaw, and in each episode, I'll help you to awaken your own inner wisdom, step into your power, and live a more divinely inspired life. You're here to let your inner light shine. Are you ready? Let's do this. So hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. Today I'm super excited because we have a returning guest, Laura Powers, who, Laura, I don't remember how to introduce you. I think the last time I just called you like a celebrity psychic. Does that work?
Yeah, I say generally that I'm a celebrity psychic or a psychic medium and a creative entrepreneur.
I love it. All right, beautiful. And so I'm so excited. The last time we chatted, it was right before I made my move to California. So it feels like a lifetime ago, even though it was probably just about a year and a half. And you connected me with another repeat guest that I've had on the show now twice, Mark Gober. That's been such a great soul connection. So I'm so grateful to you for that connection because he's the bomb.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I remember feeling like, oh, you guys definitely should connect. I felt like there was a lot of synergy between you. That is, by the way, one of my favorite things to do is connect aligned people.
It's magical.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. Let the magic unfold. It's so great. Yeah, so it's been a lot of changes for me too. So just to give people some background on me, if you haven't listened to that other episode. So I've always been very creative growing up. I was a child actor. My parents were musicians for a living when I was growing up. So I started doing music when I was really young. And then as I stepped into adulthood, I think I really took on a lot of messaging about like what you're supposed to do and not to do. And I still had creative outlets, but I started to really get focused on like business and government and kind of these more institutional, things. And got my master's degree in political science, and I worked in government and politics. And I was very focused on that for a period of time. And then it was actually during the sort of housing bubble and burst and recession of 0809. And then I also was going through a divorce at that time, that I feel like I had this major kind of spiritual realignment, almost like the spiritual roto-rooter went through my life, and just all the things that weren't aligned with me anymore was just like, well, that's kind of like, out the window. And I started focusing on my sort of spiritual, intuitive, and psychic work and going back to my creative roots. So started taking psychic training, and then pretty quickly started to work myself as a psychic. And in between, I consulted in politics and government. So there was this interesting period of time where I was like working as a psychic already. And I remember I was actually working as a staff member for a government task force on health insurance coding. It was like healthcare, insurance, government, like so opposite of intuitive work, right?
Wow.
And just like straddling these two worlds, for a period of time as I was shifting that. And then I also, as I was building my psychic business, was making my living as an actress in theater. So that was a little bit after that. And yeah, so as I kind of developed in, I really feel like the intuitive psychic piece has been so important for my own personal self-development to help me navigate. And so if you're feeling called to get, intuition training or how to tap in, you don't have to want to be an intuitive like you or me to do that. I just think it's so important for your life to be able to just, navigate with your inner compass better.
Yes.
And I feel like so much of my psychic work is about that, like figuring out how to unfold in my own path more easily. And also, I am here to teach and share about this, but also more and more I'm feeling to bring in joy and through creativity. So more recently, I feel like that's a lot of what my path and my purpose is about, is stepping into kind of edutainment. If you've heard that expression, but TEDx, that's what they're, and TED Talks, right. That's really what they're about. It's this idea that you can like have fun and entertain and educate at the same time. And I do feel that joy is such an important, powerful vibration. And I want to bring more of that into the world in many different ways. So it's an exciting and interesting time, because I feel like I'm doing a bit of an expansion right now, where I'm still very much focusing on my psychic and intuitive work, but also through the platforms of entertainment. So I do a stand-up comedy where I talk about my psychic life and work. I've been doing a lot of television where that's coming up, doing, animal communication and just talking about being a psychic and doing on-air readings and things like that. And it's been a really fun time of expansion, and want everyone to know that whatever your sort of unusual things are that you're interested or that you can do, there is a way for it all to come together in this kind of like magical way.
Well, you said just a lot in there. And I would say first and foremost, I'm a big fan of living your joy.
Yes.
Because if you are following the things that bring you joy, if you are experiencing more and more joy in your life, first of all, joy is contagious. And even if the people around you don't feel joyous in your joy necessarily, planetarily, the more that we can raise the vibration by living our own light, the more we are taking the world into the next millennium, into the new age. It's like exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So live your light first and foremost and have a blast doing it. But also, a lot of times when we are living on that higher bandwidth and we are doing the things that we love and enjoy, like it's contagious to the people around us, or we attract in people that vibe with that cool thing that we're doing and it wakens something in them. Or they just, I think at the highest level, we all want to see everybody else happy. Like that's what your soul wants. Your soul vibes there. Sometimes, the human mind, not so much. So I think the first thing that I love that you said is like, I'm feeling called to do this thing. This thing is fun, and I'm going for it. Because I think when we do that, that's when we're actually most aligned with our purpose.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case. And I do think that sometimes we have beliefs or patterns that can prevent that from coming in or from coming in easily. And I've known for a while that I had some visibility blocks, and one of the things I did recently was an Akashic Records healing and clearing with a very powerful Akashic Records reader. And by the way, there's not many people I will go to for psychic spiritual work. I just want to say that, because I can do so much on my own, but I felt called to go to her. And oh my gosh, like we specifically were looking at visibility and healing blocks of visibility. And I did this session with her on that. And like immediately I started to book almost everything that I submitted for.
Wow.
Like shocking, like literally, I'm like, it's kind of incredible. So if you feel that nudge to do some kind of healing, clearing work, as it relates to them, like say you feel a pull to have joy or do a certain thing, but you feel like there's a block or there's resistance, use tools, like do what you can, because these things can be incredibly impactful.
Oh, totally. Totally. I think it's where we shut ourselves down. I mean, if you have like a dream or you have something and it's not flowing, by all means, feel in a little more deeply into like how you can get that flow going, which is what I think that you did. And I also think that I think when you've been doing this work as long as I think the two of us have, it's like everything else. Like, I've been practicing yoga now. I've been a student of yoga for, I'm going to date myself, but like, close to 3 decades. And so, it takes a lot for me to find a yoga teacher that I really vibe with. It's not just any person that's been, just puts up their little shingle and is teaching yoga. Like, because I'm a connoisseur. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not a teacher myself in this case, but there's just a certain amount of experience that I have. And I think too, as a professional intuitive and you as a professional psychic, like we're discerning, and you should be discerning too, by the way. Actually, everyone should be discerning.
Yes.
But I would never say, just like as a counselor, and that's another piece of my training as a licensed counselor, I would never say like, I'm all well now. I don't need like counseling support. Like that's just silliness, right? Of course, we all need support from other people. And I also think sometimes too, in the intuitive world, I'm pretty good about hearing my nudges, but we all have blind spots, and the blind spots are going to be blindier, when it's your own stuff. And so sometimes it takes someone else's perspective to help you see through them. And sometimes too, since we all have our own unique perspective, sometimes someone else's perspective is just the words or the phrase that you needed to go, oh, now I get it. And so I think no man's an island and, or no woman. And so, like, I think it's so cool that you seek support from other places.
Yeah. And to do it, when you're guided to do it. So I think it's really powerful when we get that intuitive nudge. We know how to understand it, what it's saying, and then we follow it. And then it's really magical. And we were talking about the Hawkins scale of consciousness earlier in the interview for my show. And I want to bring that up. So the Hawkins scale of consciousness is a book by David Hawkins called Power versus Force, which is a really incredible book. But he has a scale of consciousness based on like lowest vibration up to highest. And, on the very bottom is like guilt, shame, fear,
right,
anger, grief. And then at the top is like enlightenment, peace, joy, love, and joy being like one of the highest. And then there's this correlating triangle on the right-hand side of the grid.
Okay.
And at the very bottom of the triangle, so when you're more in like fear, guilt, shame, like all those emotions, you're either in a place of inaction or you're in a place of like really busy action that doesn't lead to results. And then as you go up, you get to like busyness, but productivity. Like, you're doing
Right.
stuff, but you're getting some traction. And then the highest level is outstanding outcomes with almost no effort, where things just kind of come in. And that's what I feel like I'm starting to achieve as I've shifted and know how to follow my intuition and have worked on clearing blocks. And it's like things just pop in. Like I just get invited, or I just pitch something at a national show and they're like, yes, please come on. Like, and so just know that as you work on yourself, if you just keep consistently doing it, things start to get easier and easier in your life, thankfully.
But I love what you said too, because I think that, and we talk about this on the show a lot, I think that, it's a human trait because of what we've been taught to think everything has to be hard and to think we have to work really hard and do a lot of things and kind of earn our rewards when your rewards and your joy and your dreams are your birthright. It's the other way around. We have to free ourselves up to just receive the things that the universe wants to give us. When you have a desire, especially when it's a true and aligned desire, that brings you joy, not something that you've been taught that you're supposed to want, but something that, makes your soul sing, and you align with that, it can happen instantly, and it's supposed to happen instantly. And it's just, most of us haven't been taught how to receive in that way.
I think the work part is working on our beliefs, working on our programming and blocks, and clearing some of that stuff. But yeah, I agree. We were having a conversation. I can't remember if it was before recording on my podcast, where we're talking about like, we're really here to experience joy and happiness.
Yes.
Like, yes, there are things we're learning and karmic patterns and things like that. But ultimately, the goal is to just be in love and joy and peace and experience how amazing it is to be here.
Yes.
And also that not everything incarnates. Like I've experienced communication beings that don't get to incarnate, and they're very envious, so just remember, this is actually this beautiful privilege to have this wonderful incarnation experience if we allow ourselves to be in that way.
Yes, absolutely. I had Rob Schwartz on the podcast. I know you've had him a couple of times too.
Yeah.
And he's the author, for people that haven't heard that episode yet or don't know his work, he's the author of Your Soul's Gift, Your Soul's Love, Your Soul's Plan, all books about how our souls plan our lifetimes before we are incarnate, so that a lot of the struggles and the challenges and the joys that we have are things that we anticipated before coming into these bodies. But one of the things that, I've heard him say, and he said a little bit of this when he was on the show, is that, when we're hanging out in the spirit realm, souls that have been to earth, we have like a special flavor, a special color, a special it's like there's a flavor to our energy that other souls covet. Like it's considered like an honor to come here and to have this experience. It's a special, special thing. And he also said on the show, which blew my mind, he said it's been explained to him that at this period of time, when the earth is going through this massive transformation and change, he said that 1 for every 3 souls that wanted to be here made the cut. So,
that's so interesting.
Yeah,
so you're winning if you're here, which is such a reframe.
So not only is it amazing journey to be honored that you even, agreed to show up in this human realm. And not only did you choose to be here, but you fought for your place. And, there was an extra special reason why you made the cut. So it's really cool.
I love that, because I feel like there's a lot of messaging right now that it's so hard. And I've heard this a lot, that Earth is a very difficult place to incarnate. And I do agree to that to a degree. I mean, there's a lot of dense, heavy energies here, but at the same time, it's all about where you are and where you're coming from. And you can literally shift and rise above things so fast if you have the tools and you know how to listen. And it's just that awareness. And even like looking at that scale of consciousness, for me, it was such a shift of like, oh, where am I? Where do I want to be? Right. And then every time I catch myself kind of shifting in one of those vibrational states that usually doesn't feel pleasant, say, anger, fear, grief, whatever, just to honor it, there's something there for you. But at the same time, sort of pattern recognition around, what is it that's bringing me here? And I'm doing that more and more. Like there's a quote I just saw and I reshared it on Facebook, which is, you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people you're around or something like
Right,
that.
yeah.
And it was like, yes, that, so much of this is about our choice about what are we connecting with? What are we choosing to have in our circle, in our field? And like, I had an experience recently with someone where some kind of energies and patterns were coming up that I'm like, I haven't experienced this in like 8 years. And I'm like, it was just interesting to note that some of these kind of struggles and energies like were coming up with a particular person that I was connecting with that I hadn't for a long time. And I was like, oh, something about the way that we're connecting is bringing up this kind of old patterns.
Right.
So just, it's always good, I think, to have that awareness of like, what activities, people, situations, what energy are they kind of inspiring or bringing up in us?
Yeah. No, I think that's huge. And again, it's because it comes back to you. It's not what the other person is doing to you. Although, if someone's hitting you or hurting you, please get out of that situation if you can.
Yes.
But it's about what wants to change and grow within you. Right.
Yeah.
And because as we look inside and as we say, okay, where am I complicit in this? Where do I want to heal? Where do I want to grow? We'll shift those patterns, mightily and quickly. And sometimes shifting that pattern is walking away from a relationship, right? Because there are certain relationships that we have where the way our energy is playing together, it doesn't serve us.
Absolutely. This is not to put responsibility on the person, but more to say like, oh, this is more likely to happen in this particular circumstance or situation.
Yes.
And I really feel like in so many ways, boundaries are everything as it relates to our life experience, our joy, our manifesting. And I'll give a couple of examples. One, I just think we receive whatever we allow or whatever we accept. So it's just constantly for us to be like, is this what I want? Am I accepting it on a level? And then the analogy the guides gave me was the Netflix queue analogy. So whatever we're connecting with in our lives, there's like this sort of universal Netflix queue and algorithm. So whatever we're engaging with, it's like the universe is like, oh, send more, that's what she's watching. That's what she's choosing or he's watching or choosing. So it's just really important for us to have that awareness of like, oh, do I want more of this, whatever it is that I'm engaging with or not? And if we don't, then we have to say no to it. And then it might still show up in our sort of queue for a little while as the algorithm starts to, refigure itself out.
I love that analogy. I heard you say that somewhere else. It's brilliant. And it's exactly like that. And if you click on it and you watch it, you just told Netflix, yeah, I'm still into that. Right.
Yeah.
And if you let it be there and you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that show, but I don't really watch that so much anymore. And you choose something else. Right now, you've just worked towards repatterning the algorithm.
Yes. And the trick is sometimes there are things that we don't feel like we enjoy, but it's maybe very compelling. There's a trigger there. So
yes, ma'am.
Something with politics or the news, like something where you just watch something obsessively and you just like really hard to tear yourself away. And I think it's constantly important to just think like, do I want more of this energy of whatever this XYZ is in my life? Or do I want to focus on, something else and bring that in and make space for that? And so we're constantly making these choices in our personal relationships with what we're connecting and watching and engaging with, so it could be media, it could be, books that you're reading, it could be your thoughts, it could be, active relationships. So all of these things are informing that sort of universal algorithm for this sort of Netflix life queue.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think the trick too is see how you feel. See how you feel. Cause sometimes, like I often think of some of these patterns, it's sort of like scratching an itch. And, not to overshare, but I have psoriasis that gets itchy, right? And so sometimes I scratch it. It feels so good to scratch it until it doesn't. And afterwards, I so wish I didn't scratch that itch. And that's how you train yourself to stop scratching it. Right?
Yeah.
That's how you learn. And it's okay. And if you scratch the itch and now it hurts and you beat yourself up, damn, I can't believe I scratched it. Well, of course you scratched it because it was itchy and because you were used to scratching it. And for so many of us too, those compulsions, those urges, it's a habit. It's, it's where the momentum is. It's what we're used to. But each time you recognize, I don't like this anymore. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't serve me. And then you're loving and kind to yourself and you make a different choice, or even you have that awareness and you're kind to yourself. That's even a space creating moment. That's when we start to shift the pattern. And that's when, Netflix will start showing us the really amazing shows because there are great shows on Netflix.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And there's no judgment here too. If we're feeling pulled to something, sometimes there's a lesson or something for us to experience or learn out of it. But also just to have that awareness of like, oh, do I want to continue to connect with this energy? Is this serving me? Is this really where I want to be in my mental space and my energy moving forward?
Right.
So there's certain political hot topics where it is so compelling to me. Like when it comes up, it's like, sometimes I'm like, Laura, tear yourself away. Like it's like you said, it's like this really compulsion to scratch that itch.
Right.
And so, maybe it means just, unfollowing certain channels or people, or,
Right.
making a different choice in terms of spending your time, or maybe not getting on social media, or not. Like I never watch the news,
Yeah, I haven't.
for that reason. And the unfollow feature is such a fabulous feature to just help, change your stream.
Absolutely. A lot of people are so down on social media, and, I think it's something to be moderated for sure, but I keep a very clean Facebook feed for that reason, because I've told Facebook, I'm not replying to this, I'm not replying to that, and I mostly get inspirational quotes from the people that I love, pictures of children, pictures of kittens and sunsets. And I follow a lot of bird photography groups because I love birds.
I love
So
that.
I get a lot of hawks and eagles and owls. Yeah. And, cats are always good too. Bring on your cats.
Yes. I write songs about cats.
I know
love
you
cats.
write songs about cats, which brings me to where I want to shift. So I love
Sure.
this, and I love the idea, and I love what you're saying too, because I think it's so potent and important at this period of time. We are choosing which energy streams that we want to engage with. And in so doing, we are strengthening those streams.
Yes.
And we are changing the world. And many of you people that are drawn to my podcast, that are drawn to Laura's podcast, that are drawn to doing this work, we're at the forefront of this new age of transforming the world. And so we are the vibration holders of the higher vibration to the extent that we can hold it. And so it's not like a scary thing. You don't have to feel like, oh no, am I doing it right? It's a joy. It's an honor. But if we're mindful and we really like show up, we're going to bat it out of the park, for not just for ourselves, but for the whole planet. So it's really, 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 really cool. So I wanted to say that, but I also want to say, I want you to share a little bit more about your personal joy and the area in your life that you're expanding into, because I think it's so cool. And I think people living their dreams and living their joy is about the most potent, powerful, and exciting thing that we can share. So I want you to share with listeners, like, what you're doing right now.
Great. Yeah, I feel that we are here to be in and create joy, just like we talked about. And I also feel that we're here to be divine creators.
Yeah.
Like in the image of the creator, we are here to divinely create. And the thing is, each of us has our own specific frequency and, gifts. And it's kind of like, a choir. Like I've been given that analogy. If you take a particular, like you take out the baritone or you take out the bass, like that will be missed.
Yes.
That frequency will just not be there. And each of us has our own unique frequency and sound and vibration and gifts and abilities. And if we just don't honor those, we don't create, we don't contribute, the whole world is missing that. Like it's just no one else's is just like yours. And I remember a woman who years ago, she was a client of mine, and she talked about how she had gone through, sexual abuse as a child. And she said to me, I was so grateful when Oprah started to talk about this because I didn't have to. And I remember thinking, no, we all need to use our voice for whatever it is that we're here. And just because someone else is talking about it, they will not have the same life experiences. They will not have the same perspective. They will not have the same circle that you do. So it's important to honor that and step forward. And I think too, when we really like honor our soul's desire to create uniquely, that magical doors open. So one of the songs I sing is called the Cat Song. And I was in a play actually years ago, these musical shows, and I would write an original song for each production. And the director asked me to write a song about cats in a sort of cabaret style for tomorrow. Like that's what he said. Can you write this for tomorrow? And I was like, sure, I said, and I had no idea. And then I just basically channeled and kind of downloaded the song. So the song is very kind of sensual and playful and silly. And when I sing it, and I do it in my comedy, and I also just here in Vegas will just perform it live at like music venues, and people love it. And it's funny and it's playful, and people remember it. And like no one else is going to write that cat song but me. Like it's just specific to me, right? And I'm not saying everyone should write cat songs. I'm just saying whatever you are feeling, like create that. And the funny thing is how that has opened doors for me. So I sang that song on a TV show, and I was on as a psychic. And then I said, oh, I do psychic comedy. And they're like, well, like, what is that? And I like sang the song. And then I got asked to be back on a different episode of that same show to sing.
Wow.
So it opened a door to not psychic work, but, just to sing, which is one of the things that I truly love and desire. So as you step into your specific loves, passions, desires, it's like it just magically opens these doorways. And I just encourage everybody to do it, because there's another channeled message I got, which was, don't let your songs die with you.
Right. No. Yeah.
The importance of like, and it's not to say everyone has to be a song, but like whatever is your particular sort of heart frequency message, like we all have something so specific and unique, and the world is at a loss. Imagine if Michael Jackson didn't create music, or, Picasso didn't paint, or, what a loss to the world of, those abilities.
Amen. And I think it's important to know too, you might be Michael Jackson, you might be here to have a huge, reach, or it might be a really tiny one. It might be the one thing that you say to the one person that changes them, that changes 1,000 people, that changes, right? We don't know. So the human mind will want to say like, well, Laura, I don't know if I'm ever going to be on TV, or I don't know if I'm ever going to write a best-selling book, or like, I don't know if I'm going to do what you girls do, like sitting there being all psychic and stuff. Your special sauce is yours, and you are living your purpose and you are living your light right now. It's just about sort of deepening the flavor and the intensity. Whatever you feel is right for you. Laura was saying, I think, if I hear you correctly, that she felt called to be more visible. Yours truly feels called to be more visible. I cannot tell a lie. That's a soul calling for me. But it isn't for everybody. And also, I don't have a soul calling to be, say, Julia Roberts. So I'm sure she's a lovely person. Well, I wouldn't have the soul calling to be anyone but myself.
No, yeah.
That's not possible. But understand too, like when we're talking, it's about figuring out your special thing, which, might feel very small, but it's not when it's really, truly yours and you're really, truly expressing it.
Yeah, I think that every single person has the power to completely transform the world. And I know that might sound crazy considering how many people there are, but I truly have been shown that. And I believe that. And what you just said, I love, it's like, there's a Dr. Seuss quote that I love for this. It's like, be you, everyone else is taken, Yes. Don't try to be someone else. However, if there's something else, let's say you experience envy or jealousy about something someone else has or is doing or experiencing, I think that's also important information. And when we feel that, it means on some level we want that, and there's probably something in us that's blocking it or thinks it isn't possible. And just to like turn that on its head and just say, oh, I want that. If they can have it, I can have it too. Right.
Yes.
And so just to keep reframing and, clarifying, what it is that we can have, and just how important that is to understand that you can change the world. And also even what you might perceive to be small is probably not. So I love It's a Wonderful Life. So if you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, I love that, where his lead character, he is visited by an angel, and he just thinks his life hasn't been that impactful. And he I think he's feeling suicidal. And then he is shown by this angel, like how the world would have been so different without him. And it's shockingly different, and not in a good way. And so just to remember the positive impact that we've had, and we never really know how big our impact is. And just to not assume that we don't have incredible power. I think each of us has more power than we can even fathom, to be honest. And it's important to understand that, honor that, and then direct that power and energy where we want it to go. So back to this like universal, Netflix cue or whatever, what do you want to create? Not just what do you want to receive, but also what do you want to create in the world?
Yeah. And I think it's reciprocal. What you want to receive, what you want to create right? It's of the same flavor, most likely. And I love what you said about jealousy too, because I think it's so important. Oftentimes it's a longing.
Yes.
And it's giving you information. And, sometimes we have this human conditioning that said, if they have it, I can't. But that's ridiculous. I can't be Laura. She's really pretty if you could see her here. And she's awesome. I have to be Victoria. And that is working just fine for me, right? But if there are things about her experience, about her life, qualities, things that she's doing that I admire, that I see in her that I want to express within me, we all have it all inside of us.
We do. And anything is changeable. Like really,
Yeah.
I love these memes of, when various people started doing things, so-and-so Morgan Freeman started acting when I think he was in his 50s or 60s,
Right.
like it's not too late. Really, the only time it's too late is when you've passed on in this lifetime. But even then you still continue to
You
work
still
on a
get to
soul
do
level.
it. Yeah.
So it's just, just not in this particular iteration or whatever. So basically, just if you have a desire for something, just go for it,
Yeah.
just go for it, and then continue to work on whatever beliefs that may be limiting certain things from coming in for you. And also continue to shift your circle. Cause I think, when you surround yourself by inspiring positive people, you start to feel positive and inspiring as well.
Absolutely. I love that. That is great information. And, I also think the more we honor and value ourselves, the more we attract those people in too. So it's a win-win. It'll just keep snowballing in the best possible way.
Absolutely. And I do feel a rising tide lifts all ships. So, the better we each individually are, the more we model how to be that way. Other people do it. Then another analogy would be, be the light bearer,
Yeah.
have a bright torch yourself. And as you do, you just kind of automatically light other people's torches. And it does not take away from your light, right?
Nope.
It's not a zero-sum game. And I did a channeled message from Nikola Tesla, that I thought was so powerful. And one of the things he said to me was, most people are just trying to get their piece of the pie. And that's where you get into this competitive, like if she has it or he has it, I
Right.
can't, et cetera. And he said there are an infinite number of pies. And
Yes.
I love that. You can always make more pie.
Yes, exactly. I love that. All right. We're going to have to wrap up in a second, but I ask everyone on the show. So I asked you this before about how you experience your intuition. So I'm not going to ask you again. Don't worry. But I am so curious because, I know that you act, I know that you sing, and I know that intuition and those creative arts are so deeply aligned. So I would like to know, Laura, how do you experience your intuition in your art and in your work?
I feel like it is very similar. I just get these kind of nudges because I'm a channel. I literally just get things channeled in. And I remember one time I was performing and I was singing a Marilyn Monroe song, and she's one of my kind of soul connections. And my friend was like, she said it was like it wasn't even you up there. And I do feel like I just kind of intuitively bring in the energies that I want, or when I write a song, it just comes in like a full download to me. And so I think that it's just literally about listening, just being open. And also, I want everyone to know that you can call in particular sort of muses or guides. So let's say you're a painter, you can call a particular painter that you admire to like help support and assist you either with technique or with connections or, guidance for anything, so music, writing, business, that this is like an open conversation, and spirits on the other side are looking for people to partner with to continue to co-create. So I think how incredible to feel like, you couldn't just be like, hey, Elon Musk, can you just give me some, but you on a spirit level, you can literally kind of tap in spiritually to some of these individuals as well as angels that work with these things and get some incredible high level support and collaboration.
I love that. And I know at certain periods of my life, I have had that experience, not intentionally, but you'll start to think about people. And as a medium too, you start to be like, wow, really? Is that person just in my space? But it's true. We attract that in. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And again, just to not underestimate our own soul's power and impact. And wherever you came from, that does not have to be where you are or where you continue to go. I mean, I was born very poor in like an abusive and traumatic situation, and I have an amazing, like magical life, so your history does not have to mean anything aside from like a powerful story of shifts and transformation.
I love that. I often see it as momentum. And again, if you had a perfectly happy, wonderful childhood, bravo, that is great too. We set things up that way sometimes and you go with that. But I often see that people that sometimes have those difficult childhoods, the guys always give me, it's like a slingshot, right? And so you pulled it way, 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 way back because as you move through it, it gives you a tremendous amount of momentum going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it does give you a lot of motivation. We're like, well, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, but it's also momentum. Abraham Hicks will say like sometimes the problem lingers longer to build up more momentum towards realizing the solution. Right.
Oh, interesting.
And I think
Yeah.
sometimes that's how the game works. It doesn't have to, and you can transform tomorrow. It's all there for you. Everything that you ever desired is right at your fingertips. You just have to awaken to it. But there's different ways in which the human game is played, and we can love them all. We can love them all.
Yes. And things can literally change in an instant. So whatever insurmountable, seeming problem that you have, just to know it can literally kind of dissolve, disintegrate, shift instantaneously or almost instantaneously. And, I used to have all these health problems and it was like, that's so not my reality anymore. But at the time, it all seemed very real and almost, insurmountable. So it's possible to shift in any area of your life very quickly.
Agreed, 1,000,000%. Okay, Laura, if people want to find you, if they want to work with you, if they want to see your acting, singing, TV appearances, like your podcast, tell people how to find you.
Sure. So my website for my psychic and spiritual work is healingpowers.net. And you can also find my Mind, Body, Spirit podcast, which is Healing Powers podcast. And you've been a guest several times on there. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And then my music is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And my artist name is Laura Michelle Powers. I added my middle name since there's a lot of Laura Powers out there. And also Michael is one of my main guides, and so it's the female version of that. So, and then you can also just find me on Instagram at Laura Powers 44. I'm active there as well. So I'd love to connect. And I always share, various clips and things from my various television and media appearances.
Beautiful. And we share a favorite guide.
Who's coming forward right now is Archangel Jophiel or Yophiel, she's sometimes pronounced. And I feel like we're really, as a collective, working on shifting and honoring more feminine and kind of beautiful energy. So I feel she's very active. We've had a lot of, I think, very toxic male energy that's been in the collective when we're working on healing, clearing that out. And Jophiel is very much about being in beauty and love and softness. Beautiful. And that we all can embody that and manifest with ease and flow and grace and love and support each other at the same time.
Beautifulfulness. Laura, thank you again for this. This was so much fun. And I'm so lucky that I get to do what I get to do. And thank you, all of you guys out there, all of you listeners, because we wouldn't get to do this if you weren't there. So thank you and namaste.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found joy, strength, inspiration, and clarity from today's episode. If you'd like to learn more and connect with an amazing group of like-minded souls, please join us over on Facebook in the Intuitive Connection Community Facebook group, where we explore these topics in deeper detail, have additional live teachings, and host Facebook Lives with our amazing guests. I hope to see you there. And of course, if you want to learn more about me or the work that I do, please check out my webpage, victoriashawintuitive.com. Thank you so much again, and namaste.